English, we say, Mom died today. Or yesterday, maybe. I don't know. I got a telegram from the home. Mother deceased. Funeral tomorrow. Faithfully yours. That doesn't mean anything. Maybe it was yesterday. But in French, we say, Aujourd'hui, maman est morte. Peut-être hier, je ne sais pas. J'ai reçu un télégramme de l'asile. Mère décédée enterrement demain. Sentiment distingué. Cela ne veut rien dire. C'était peut-être hier. I missed you guys. And I'm sure you missed me. It's been about 2 weeks since I last uploaded, but spring break is approaching, so I will have a lot more time to keep you guys updated. But in my hand right now, I have a book called L'étranger by Albert Camus, also known as The Stranger, as the title of the book says. And this might be the most interesting short read I've had in a really long time. And today we're going to talk about the first part, which in it I found to be fascinating, the reason why. Okay, and I will tell you why is it that I found this part so fascinating and where I think the book is heading towards, right? Or at least what the lesson of this book is. And with that being said, make yourself comfortable, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about one of the most fascinating books I've read in a while. The Stranger by Albert Camus. Earlier I mentioned how I found something interesting in this book. The reason is actually really, at least in my opinion, funny, because I went from reading a book where the main character killed because he believes himself to be extraordinary, to be a Napoleon, right? That certain rules and laws don't apply to him. That is Crime and Punishment by Fyodor Dostoevsky. But in this book, towards the end of part 1, he kills because, and I quote, "It's raining fire." And partially right, because he just feels like killing the man, right? It all started because of an altercation. They had a fight earlier, but he was just standing in the back, just watching the fight happen. Let me paint a picture for you. There are 2 Arab men, and 3 Frenchmen. Okay. There is our character standing in the back, the 2 Frenchmen and the Arabs fight, right? And one of the Arabs ends up cutting one of the Frenchmen, and that's where the fight ends, right? But the Frenchman that got cut decide to go back to where the fight happened. It was a beach, by the way. Decide to go back where the fight happened with a gun, and meeting the 2 Arabs there coincidentally. But at the time, the Frenchman wanted an alibi. He wanted a reason to shoot one of the Arabs, but he didn't really have an alibi, so he gave the gun to our character, the one that we're reading the story about. And after that happened, they just went their way back to where they resided. The Arab stayed on the beach. A couple of minutes later, our character, for some unknown reason, because of the heat, because of the sun, decided to go back on the beach, and the sun was so bright it was reflecting off the water and the sand. And coincidentally enough, he meets the Arab that had the knife that slashed one of the Frenchmen. And you won't believe what happened next. Our main character, without saying a single word to the Arab, I'm sorry, okay, if I'm saying the word Arab or Arab wrong, is because my native language is French, so it's kind of alternating between French and English sometimes, but let's go back to the story. The Arab that was on the beach pulls out a knife and points it at our character, and the light of the sun flashes on the blade and hits him in the face at the wrong angle. And without saying a word, and a couple of dialogue later, our character just pulls the trigger on the revolver, and a loud echo, and then just silence. And he just keeps on pressing the trigger over, and he does it 3 times. And you want to know what happened after that? He didn't say a single word. After he had killed the Arab man, he said, and I quote, "Then I fired 4 more times at the motionless body where the bullets lodged without leaving a trace. And it was like knocking 4 quick times on the door of happiness." That's how part 1 ends. And remember I said that I had an idea of where the book was going, right? My reasoning is that before the murder happened, before the whole killing, because it was hot, because he felt like it, his mother died. That's the whole introduction I did. His mother passed away. She died. She was at a retirement home. And while going to the funeral, he didn't really show any signs of emotions or vulnerability. It was stoicism mixed with nihilism, right? And that's where I think this book is going. I think that this book relates to what an ending where nothing matters, life is meaningless, the whole embodiment of nihilism. That's where I think that this life is going, because he had no remorse, no emotions when he came to firing the gun and killing the man. No emotions whatsoever. And reading this book feels so much like a personal diary. It's actually fascinating. Every time the paragraph opens, it starts something like this, right? "I was tired. The caretaker took me to his room." The next paragraph starts with, "But I waited in the courtyard." He's writing a diary and telling us a story at the same time, which in this book, it wasn't like that. Okay, this book are so different, which is why I'm starting to like this book, honestly. This book is more fresh, it's more intimate, more personal, right, which I personally enjoy. But as I was saying, this book is leading toward the idea of nihilism. Once again, it's my opinion, don't come for me. But the concept of nihilism is, from my understanding, is that nothing really matters. Okay, that your life is meaningless. you just live and then you die. And that all action that happened in between doesn't matter. And I think that towards part 2 of this book, it will talk about the aftermath of the killing, the bitch murderer. I like how that sounds. And if I'm right, and this book leads toward nihilism, then this book will, in my opinion, help me understand the thought behind people that think like that. I believe that life is meaningless. When I read a book, I want to understand the thought process of the character of the author. I want to know why they think the way they are thinking, what goes on in their heads. And if this goes where I think it's going, this would be a great lesson for me. And hopefully I'll be able to convey that lesson to you guys. And maybe you guys will share some ideas. But that was the entirety of part 1 summarized within less than 15 minutes. So if you have anything you'd like to say, let me know in the comments. I will be keeping you guys updated. Thank you for watching. My name is Yvonne. You're watching Books by Yvonne. I read books and I talk about them. And this was Les Congés by Albert Camus. If you have anything you want to say, let me know and I'll make sure to talk about them in my next video. With that being said, remember, it's better to read than not to read. Have a good day and be good people. Bye.